This is Joe Peters from MomFit. Welcome to the Family World Network and the Third Network on Tuesday. Please remember to download both the Tuesday app for iOS. While you are downloading, make sure to rate and leave the app. Single TV is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, TV Roku or Roku Stick in all smart TVs. Today we have a very special. Today we are going to go into a rabbit hole. One of the topics that we don't talk a lot about is motherhood, and that we only talk about in society when a tragedy happens. For some of you that know about the Twitch, the dancer that passed away this Tuesday, um, all this week is being coming into that conversation about mental health awareness and checking on the people that you love, and how the people that look the strongest and the happiest sometimes is the people that struggle. And that made me think about Robbie Williams that we lost a couple of years ago as well, and also made me think about we as moms and how we as moms face postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and sometimes pregnancy depression and pregnancy anxiety, but it's not being talked, it's not being discussed, it's not being normalized to share about it. So because of that, we start feeling guilt and shame, and that guilt and shame make it even harder for us to discuss what is going on. Actually, I was talking with a friend of mine. She was sharing her views about all this. And then there was a moment where she said, we can only hope that these people really realize how worth it their life is to be living. And that really triggers me, because one of the things that happen for us as moms that are suffering with depression, postpartum depression or pregnancy depression, is we know how happy we are logically. We know that we are blessed with our baby. We know that sometimes that is something that we are been wanting for a long time. And still we are feeling those deep feelings of depression and anxiety and intrusive thoughts. And that trigger even more guilt. Because I remember, I will tell my story to all of you, because that is one of my commitments as my journey in MomFit and my journey on helping females. And that is, I will be raw and transparent, because if at least one mom can learn from my journey, then my mission in life was accomplished. And I will tell you that my pregnancy was perfect. My pregnancy was amazing. My pregnancy was a dream come true, even with all the adversities about my age and all the stigma from society. But then the fourth trimester came. And that is what I'm wearing the t-shirt. I'm very proud to say that I survived the fourth trimester. And we all survive the fourth trimester, but for mamas that are struggling with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, surviving the fourth trimester means a lot more, because it actually means literally I survive, I am alive. And one of the fun things, and I'm going to talk about a lot of things that I've been having hypotheses and studying and things on this topic, starting with my journey. So one of the things that is interesting is that I had some milk production issues when I start my journey breastfeeding in the first couple of weeks. And then when I start showing the symptoms of depression, postpartum depression, one of the things that the doctors and the therapist told me was that low milk production was a result of postpartum depression. And I am not criticizing or saying that that is not true from the medical perspective. I'm just want you to have another thought on that perspective. Is it, for me, is more like the dilemma of what was first, the egg or the chicken. It is really that the low milk production is a result of the postpartum depression, or is the postpartum depression, can the postpartum depression be a result of us being labeled as having low supply and issues with our supply? Because the reality is, this is the first time in the history of humanity that women are doing what they are doing at the age that they are doing. Having, like, yeah, our 2 generations, 3 generations ago, they were having 10 kids, but they will start when they were 16 and they will end when they were 25, 26, I don't know, 30. Now it's more and more likely to have moms having their kids in the late 30s, in the early 40s, and that impact our body. So one of my thoughts there was, can my milk be in a different time frame that what is normal by society standards, and that is applying a lot more of pressure for me because I'm not meeting the standard. And while one of the things as a, with a background of engineering, one of the things that I know is every standard, every average, every time that we hear doctors and scientists and society talking about what is normal, I want you to think about a bell curve, because a bell curve is a statistical tool that take a lot of data for a lot of people or a lot of information and analyze it and make sure to understand what is the middle of the bell, the most common thing happening. And that doesn't mean that it's the only thing. In a bell curve, you will see people in each of the extremes of the curve. So the first one was really that my meal production challenges were a result of the depression, or maybe because all the pressure that society, myself, social media put on me on the concept of breastfeeding, my postpartum depression started because of how I was feeling of not meeting that standard on breast milk. But then I start that journey with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and it was, and I always say it, and I'm gonna be a little deeper this episode that I ever been before. It was the darkest time in my life. Some of you know that I struggled with depression for 20 years before of that, and the depression that I felt during my postpartum, during the fourth trimester, was the darkest time in my entire life. And let me think back into that concept of, oh, we wish that they know how blessed they are, how worth their life is. Because I remember several nights feeling so sad and so hopeless. And at the same time, if that was not enough to handle, I also have a huge bag of guilt because I have my perfect, precious baby. I have my wonderful husband helping me 100%. I had my dream house, I had my dream job, and I feel so guilty because there was a disconnection inside of me. Logically, in my mind, I knew my life was worth it to live. I knew that I was blessed. And that was not enough to make me feel different about how I was feeling emotionally, and how sad I was, and how depressed I was, and how scary I was with thinking about all the intrusive thoughts that I had about myself and my baby. And through all of that, one of the things that triggered me is, we don't talk about that. because we as moms are ashamed, because we as moms are predisposed to assume that the only thing that we should be feeling when we have our babies is love and happiness and gratitude. And I want to invite you to think in motherhood and postpartum and the fourth trimester as it can be, it doesn't have to be either or, it can be this and that. It doesn't have to be that you are either happy and loving and excited and blessed, or you are depressed and feeling sad and guilty. You can have all those feelings at the same time. Because the reality is, you as a woman were literally breaking apart after 9 months of building this human. And now you are starting to pull back yourself back together in a different way. We are never the same after we have our babies. But it's not to talk about. And as more I search the studies, and after the pandemic, the statistics on depression and anxiety on everybody were skyrocket. And with moms was very scary because before the pandemic, 20% of the moms report, and I want to make emphasis on this, 20% of the moms report depression, um, report depression. I want to make sure that you understand that, because when we say 20%, we can think, oh, 20% is not that much. But actually, 20% is 1 out of 5. So if you have a group of friends that are 5 or more, then one of you struggle with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. I will tell you that because I have my friends from high school, and they are 6 of us. And what that means is that I was the 20%. I was the 20% on that. Even when I know that another of my friends had postpartum anxiety. And all this pandemic, all this fear of staying inside, of not having what it did for the last 2 years, was putting moms in an even more isolated environment. Moms were already struggling before 2020 to have enough support. And then 2020 came, and the moms that were pregnant and had our babies between 2020 and now face a completely different challenge, because we were actually literally completely alone. Like, I will tell you the reality, because I want you to see how things start mixing together. And it's like I always say when I'm coaching my moms on health, on their body, on their wellness, on their mindset, it's a onion that have peels and peels and peels. So we only have my husband's family support. And because of the depression and anxiety, everything around COVID was magnifying my head. So I was so scared, not only about COVID, but also things like RSV. I was so scared to see that fragile little baby and then be so worried that something will happen to him, that I was hyper vigilant with asking people to wear masks in my house when they hold the baby. And the reality was that was a boundary that I put, but also other people that didn't agree with me had a boundary to say, then I'm not going to go. So I had very limited support, very limited help, and that increased those feelings of loneliness and hopelessness and guilt. Because one of the things that I want to invite you to know of anything else is that part of the guilt. Either if you are a mom to be, a new mom, or you love somebody that is a new mom. If we are struggling, one of the most toxic things that we face is that feeling of guilt, of I should, I should be feeling different. I should be acting different. I should be reacting different. Therefore, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Like, I will tell you what I was thinking. What is wrong with me that I cannot be happy with my perfect family? What else I could ever dream of that is not a reality right now? And I'm still not happy. And on that one, I want to normalize something that I did a lot of work on the first year of my baby to heal. And that is normalize that it is okay if you don't enjoy or even remember some parts of those uh, 12, 18 months. And I know that that sounds hard. And even when I say it now, I feel a little bit of pressure in my heart. That is true. There are people that have the most amazing experience with newborns, and the newborns are super easy and sleep all the time and eat super easy. So they are able to build a lot of memories about their baby as a newborn. And then when they go into toddler time, they just don't remember, and then it's just different. And there are moms like me where my baby had very low sleep needs, so my baby never sleep. So I was, in addition to the depression, in addition to the anxiety, my sleep deprivation was higher than probably majority of people. My baby had issues feeding and eating. So then, even when my baby may be able to sleep 4 or 5 hours in the first couple of months, I was determined to save my breastfeeding journey with him and also to make him gain weight. So I had an alarm every 3 hours. For us, it was not, oh, the baby's waking up every 3 hours. For me, was I had an alarm every 3 hours to wake up and feed him because that was my priority, that he will eat and gain weight. And I was thinking, I was actually snuggling him yesterday in bed and being a little sad because I don't have many memories of those first 2 3 months. Everything was such a blur, everything was so painful that I don't have many loving and kind memories. And I had to work a lot in that healing because I thought that that was a failure of me as a mom for many months. And now I understand that at that moment I was in survival, we were in survival, and that is okay because we survive. And that I have other 26 years to make memories with my baby. So I want to let you know that it is okay to talk about these things, that you need a support system. That after the pandemic, the 20%, one of every five moms going into depression is actually higher. And they are even thinking that it could be up to 40, even sometimes 60%. Because the reality, like happened with people that struggle with depression that are not moms, like Twitch and Robert Williams, is the majority of the people don't talk about it. So they don't get into the statistics. The 20% is only the people that says, hey, I need help. I'm struggling with this. And I want to bring this data to you because I want you to start feeling that you are not broken, that you are not alone, that there is nothing wrong with you, and that there is hope. Above anything else, I want you to know that you are going to survive. You don't have to do it all, and then you will have the tools to survive. That is one of the things that I love to work with my moms in MomFit. If you want to Literally, if you are facing this at this moment and you need help, please go and find me on social media at Unicorn Mama Coach. I handle my own Instagram account, so I will answer you and I will be there for you. You are not alone. Then, when we are talking about hope, I want to share with you first, please talk with your doctor. This is something that I work so much with my team because you all know that I'm an advocate for having a support team. So you all know that I had my husband, I had a postpartum doula, I had a lactation consultant, I had a psychiatrist, a therapist, a coach. So I had six people around me to help me on that time. And even then, I was struggling. And one of the things that I will invite you to do is there's another taboo that I want to talk. When we are depressed and we are having intrusive thoughts, one of the things that happens in our brain as moms is if I ever tell anybody what I'm thinking, they are going to take my baby away. They are going to think that I'm not a good mom and they're going to take my baby away. And again, social media don't help with all the videos in social media of the horror stories of police taking babies away um, from moms. But I want to tell you, please, please, please reach to your doctor. Reach, ask your doctor. I don't know what part of the world you are. Ask your doctor to actually refer you to a therapist or a psychiatrist. There is people specialized on helping you with postpartum depression. That's the first one. And with that one, I want to tell you it is safe for you to share how you are feeling. They are not there to take your baby away. Actually, they are going to do everything in their power to make sure that you and your baby thrive. And they know that the best way for that to happen is if your baby stays with you. So even when that little voice starts saying, oh, I need to figure out this by myself, because if I ever tell anybody what I'm really thinking, what are these thoughts happening, then they are going to take my baby away. They are not. Actually, they are trained. They are trained, and the reality is, I will not say they will never do it, but that is like when we are talking about a distribution curve, that is the end of the curve. That is only like a few percentage of the entire population of moms that handle postpartum depression. And usually is because they also are having other things around their system and they are not asking for help. So that is the first one. Then the second one is there is a lot of things that you could do to help your body. And this, I'm not saying, and I'm gonna repeat it, I'm not saying that you need to choose to not have support medication to handle this situation. I'm saying that you can have and review other things first to help you to get to the best possible way physically and chemistry in your mind. Because one of the things that I discovered with my depression is a lot of people think that depression is just an emotional state, a mental state. And what new research is showing is there is a type of depression, and a big part of depression is a chemical imbalance in our brain. So there's a lot of things that you could do to help that chemical imbalance to get as good as possible. And why I'm telling you this? Because, for example, if you are completely obese and want to release weight, ideally you would like to change your lifestyle, change the way that you eat, change the way that you work out, to see how much you can release by yourself before you decide to have that external help. With depression and anxiety, I want to offer you the same. Yes, I want to invite you to keep in mind some of these tips I'm going to share with you to keep doing to help your body to get to the best possible way that your body can have. And then from there, see how much additional help you need from an external situation. And that is, I will tell you a lot of things. The first one is for moms, And I will tell you what I did. For moms that are struggling with some of these mood disorders, vitamin B6 is essential. B6 is helpful to help us to create the dopamine and the chemicals in the brain that help us to feel better. So supplement vitamin 6. The second one is one that help with the production of vitamin 6, that is 5-HTP. And one thing that I want you to know on this one is a supplement, natural supplement. That supplement cannot, and I repeat, cannot be. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This supplement cannot be mixed with antidepressants. So if you are considering any of these, you need to work with your doctor to make sure that you are handling in the best way. But that 5-HTP and V6 are going to support, if you are not having antidepressants, are going to support your production of dopamine in your brain. Now, the third one is movement. And mama, I hear you. You are sore, you are sleep deprived, you may be pregnant 36 weeks, you may be in your fourth trimester. I get it. The last thing that you want to do is move and exercise. And I will tell you, if you are struggling with postpartum depression and anxiety, even 10-15 minutes of movement are going to produce some of that dopamine and those endorphins that are going to make you feel better. So simple things as go around the block and walk with or without baby. You can leave baby at home the with your significant other, many other ways, or even with a baby in a stroller. Walk outside. That has two main things, and I know that now we are in winter, so it's a little more challenging because it's also cold. So I'm gonna give you an alternative later. But what happened with moving outside is that you are having the exercise, and also you are having some of that vitamin D sunlight that we need to feel better. Parenthesis on that, I don't know how many of you realize this, but in the northern countries where they have a lot less sunlight during the winter, the levels of depression and suicidal increase in the winter months. That is how much we as sun creatures need sunlight. So when you decide to go 10 minutes, 15 minutes outside to walk on a good pace and still have that sunlight, you are reaching two main things that are going to help your mood. The exercise with the dopamine and the endorphins, and also the vitamin D on the sunlight. Okay, so get 2 coats, 3 coats, a hat, and just walk out. If not, if because I'm from Colombia, so I do not like the winter, I do not like the cold. If that is not a possibility, then break it into two different things that you can do. The first one is do some exercise at home. Go into YouTube and get some free Zumba classes, dance classes, yoga classes, something fun that you will enjoy, and then do 10-15 minutes. One of the things that we were talking with one of the guests in a couple of episodes before was the concept of is all or nothing. So, if I don't have 1 hour to work out and move, then I don't. And I want to remind you that that all or nothing mentality is helping that depression and that anxiety in your head and in your heart. So the reality is there is not many moms that had 1 hour to work out. I will tell you, I'm a full-time working mom, and even when I also have a nanny and I have my husband that helps immensely, just recently I started having enough time in my life to start working out 1 hour. But in the first month, So don't work with an hour, work with 15 minutes. we're with 20 minutes. And then you work out at home, and then you can go closer to one of your windows, open the curtains, pull the blinds up, and stay there for a little bit, because that sunlight is going to also help you. It's not going to be as powerful and as ideal as if you are outside, but it's going to be helpful still to have that sunlight. So that is number 3 and 4. That is exercise and sunlight. And then the fifth one, and this one is one that is very close to my heart, and that is pay attention to what you are eating. Because you could be sabotaging yourself, you could be shooting yourself on the foot. And what I mean with that is there are some people like me that there is still not enough studies to understand why, but we know that it happened, that had an adverse chemical reaction in our brains for refined sugar. And I will tell you one of the things that I discovered with that. I before I had postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, I struggled with depression for 20 years. And then I was without depression for 4 or 5 years. And how I was able to do that was because I did a program that now I coach my moms and my groups into. That is called WildFit. And in that WellFit program, one of the things that I learned was how my body react to specific foods. And one of the things that I was able to start doing during that program was understanding that if I turn off completely the refined sugars from my body, from my system, I will start feeling better very soon. And then I start making a connection that as early as 24 hours after I had some refined sugar, and normally in average between 24 and 48 hours after I have some refined sugar, I start having some depression and some suicidal thoughts and some anxiety. And that was mind blowing for me because I'm also a sugar addict in recovery. I used to be a sugar addict. So every time for 20 years, every time that I was feeling depressed or sad, what I will do, I will go and get an ice cream. I will go and get a cake. I will go and get something sweet to make me feel better without knowing that that make me feel better in the short term was one of the reasons why the following day I was feeling so much worse. So it was a spiral down for me. I was clean of refined sugar for many years. And then when I had my baby, and I want you to see how everything is connected. I told you earlier, I had some issues with milk. And the reality is, there is not a lot of research and support on how to handle milk production and breastfeeding on women that are closer to their 30s, in their 40s, because all the information, all the studies, all the research are being for decades done in what was average normal, that was women that are younger. And the reality is our body changed through time. So I was desperate. And one of the things that I did was I commit myself to do whatever it took to make sure that I meet my goal of breastfeeding. And that meant that I started being very sloppy into reading labels, because the only thing that I was worried about was anything that anybody told me that will help their milk production, I will have it. So in the first trimester, in the fourth trimester, I was having all the lactation cookies, all the lactation brownies, all the lactation foods, everything that everybody told me that helped them, I will get it and I will have it. And it was not until like month 2 or 3 where my postpartum depression started getting really serious. And I started getting really, really scared about how I was feeling and how I was not enjoying my baby that I actually, and I will tell you the story, I actually was with tears in my eyes talking with the doctor, and we were exploring the concept of an antidepressant, Zoloft, that is one of the antidepressants that is safe for moms that are breastfeeding. And I'm being by my culture, no, by my personality. I don't like to have to take medicine. I usually take medicine as the last effort. But I was getting to that point that I was like, I'm running out of ideas, and I need to figure out how I want to be feeling better. But then when I was talking with the doctor was like, um, it can take between 6 and 8 weeks for you to start seeing results when you start taking the medicine, and you need to keep having it even when in the first couple of weeks some moms report some secondary symptoms like nausea and headaches and vomit. So I remember finishing the call with my doctor, going to the kitchen. My husband was in the kitchen. I was going to the pantry, and emotional. I saw the package of the lactation cookies, and I will never forget. It was a white package with a mom on one side and then the cookies. And I turned the package, and the first ingredient was sugar, and everything connect at that moment. I start crying because then I remember what I learned 5 years ago. I start crying. I talk to my husband. I say, "Hey, let's gonna order the Zoloft. Let's gonna have it, and let's gonna try this for the next 2 weeks. Let me go and have a full vacation and break from all the refined sugars. The only sweet that I'm gonna have is honey and fruits. And if in 2 weeks I am not feeling good, we are going to take antidepressants because my health, my life, and the life of our baby is more important." And we agreed to that. And something very interesting happened. I was starting to take the vitamin B6, the 5-HTP. I was working out, and then I took the refined sugar, and the mix of all of that started making me feel really good, much, much better. And by the end of the second week, I was feeling much better, but not completely good. So we evaluated again, and I was like, you know what? And that's part of why it's so important that we as moms practice on understanding and listening our intuition. I told my husband as we were discussing it, I said like, I want to push 2 more weeks, and I want to change something. I'm gonna remove all the sugars, including honey, maple syrup, all the natural sugars that are actually good for you and that your body actually can process and understand what they are. The only thing that I'm gonna eat that is sweet is fruits. And we did it for 2 more weeks, and then I get a stable 95%, 95%. So in my case, I still have the Zoloft because I'm still breastfeeding. I still have the Zoloft in my closet, and I had it as an option. And in my case, I found that doing those things was enough to take me to a place where I was able to start enjoying my baby, start enjoying my motherhood journey, start enjoying and not feeling guilty about what we were going as a family and as a mom and baby. And that was blowing my mind too, because one of the things that I work and with my coaching is that I was telling you, there is a small percentage of people that are very sensitive to sugar. That is usually the people that say that they have a sweet tooth. Usually that kind of people are very sensitive to sugar. And what I found with people sensitive to sugar like me, sugar addicts like me, is that you can oversaturate your body with sugar. And if your body is oversaturated, even some of the natural sweeteners can still trigger things like depression and anxiety. So, like anything that is oversaturated, in order to change that, what you need to do is have a break long enough that that oversaturation go down. That's what I did for months. Like I will tell you, for like 3 or 4 months, the only thing that I eat was fruit, nothing else. And I was feeling so good. And after I start feeling really, really good, then I slowly start including a little bit of honey and see, okay, because I already knew that my reaction was between 24 hours and 48 hours. So I start having a little bit of honey and say, okay, how I'm feeling in the next 2 days. I start putting a little bit of maple syrup, how I'm feeling in the next 2 days. And then I started incorporating some of these natural sugars um, slowly into my diet. And I want you to also have the hope that says, oh, so that means that I will never have sweets. That is a lie that the diet industry want you to feel. There is so many recipes of sweets and cakes and candy and delicious things that are not made with refined sugar. If you actually want to have some of them, go to my Instagram at Unicorn Mama Coach, send me a DM, and I will point you in the right direction on how to find some of them. But then the other one is after your system is balanced and you don't have that imbalanced chemistry in your brain, every now and then, rarely, you can choose to have a little bit of refined sugar. I'll tell you, last time that I have any refined sugar was September 11 of 2022. My birthday is September 12th. So I went for dinner on a restaurant and I told my husband, you know what? I'm going to have a cocktail and I'm going to have a dessert, a creme brulee. And I choose it. And the next day, I started not feeling very good. It was not as bad as it was 12, 14 months ago when I was in the peak of the postpartum depression. But I got to a point with all the work, with all the tools that I'm using, with all the mindset and emotional program and process that I do and I do with my clients, that I say, you know what? I call my husband and say, hey, you know that I'm a sugar addict and I want you to help me. I'm making the commitment to not have any refined sugar for the rest of the year. So I am. So it's been 3 months and 4 days without any refined sugar. I'm feeling really, really good. I am encouraging. And then one thing before we start closing the program that I want to invite you to do with the goals, because it happened to me. One of the things that I do with my moms is we start working on planning the next year. Not, we don't wait until the beginning of the year. We start planning ahead of time to make sure that we have everything that we need. And I was planning the next year, and then there was a little voice inside of me that said, like, we are going to have a goal of have 1 year without refined sugar. And I was like, yeah, that is a long-term goal that we are working. I also aware that I'm still a sugar addict in recovery. So instead of overstretching myself and then not being able to meet that goal and then feel frustrated about it, I'm gonna cut it into smaller chunks because there is something that I learned from one of my teachers and mentors is we normally overextend what we can do in 1 year and undermine what we can accomplish in 10 years. What I did is was saying, I'm gonna keep my strategy of 3 months at a time. So right now, I am in with the goal that I am not going to have any refined sugar until March 20th. Why March 20th? Because March 20th, I'm gonna go on a trip to Jamaica with my family. And I want to have the freedom to choose if I want to have some in a very small quantity over there. I may not, but now I have the freedom. And the last part of that point is inviting you to do what I just told you. If you are struggling with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and you had a sweet tooth and you're like, I wonder if my body's going to react the same that it reacts for Joe. Black belt tip, make it public. Don't keep the goal for yourself. Go like crazy mama and say it out loud to all your friends, to all your family. Say, hey, I'm doing an experiment. I need to feel better. I'm going to take a vacation, a break for refined sugars for a month. for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. The one thing that is, I will invite you to do it at least minimum for 2 weeks to start feeling some of the benefits, some of the result of not having sugar in your system. Why? Because in that way, immediately your brain is like, oh, we tell everybody. So you are more likely to stay accountable to yourself with that. Why is that? Because even if I'm telling you on all this episode how refined sugar can affect your mood, if you are sensitive to sugar, you are addicted to sugar. And like any addiction, alcohol addiction, um, sex addiction, drug addiction, there is a period when you stop the drug that you have withdrawals. And the same happened with the drug of sugar. So if you share with others and say, hey, I'm gonna do this, can I ask for your support? Then not only you're going to feel more accountable, but you are going to have people around you supporting you into remind why you are doing this, why you are trying this. So I hope that all that give you some ideas, some inspiration, and circling back. The most important thing, mom, is you are not alone, and you are not the only one. You are not the only one struggling with depression. You are not the only one struggling with anxiety. And it's okay to ask for help. There are a lot of people like myself, therapists, psychiatrists, that have tools to help you to navigate through this in a way that will be a win-win for you and your family and your baby, the way that you deserve it. Because overall, mom, you are doing the most amazing thing in the world. You are doing the most hard and unbelievably magical job in the entire universe, and that is having a baby and raising a baby and making sure that humanity keep going on for more generations to come. And just because of that, you are worth it to have a wonderful and magical life full of joy and happiness. I'm not saying that our life has to be unicorns and rainbows every day, because it doesn't. There are days that we are just like, what I'm saying is that you are worth it, that the majority of your days be full with happiness and joy and love and calm. And you don't need to figure out by yourself. And now, if you are not, if you're a mom, but you are not feeling any of those feelings, I want to remind you that between 20 and 40% of moms face it. So I want you to think about the moms that you know, the moms that you love. Because the reality is, we are tribal creatures. We need our tribe, we need our community, we need a support system. We need to have that relief to understand and believe that we are not doing this alone, that we don't need to figure out alone. So, like I always tell you, is a lot about us building that support system, that community, that help. And I'm gonna close. We are in December. If you are watching this on replay, on a recording, we are getting closer to celebrate holidays around the world. And I want to leave you with what happened with Twitch this week, that the holidays are not a happy season for everybody. The holidays are a season that can bring a lot of pain and a lot of sorrow in some people. So on this time, especially, let's gonna find that support system. Let's gonna help each other. Let's gonna love each other. Let's gonna be that light for each other, because together we are more. Remember, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. I hope that you enjoy and had some tips of nuggets of insight and wisdom in this show. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out Spanglish World at CA for all programs and news. And again, you can find me on Instagram at Unicorn Mama Coach. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. and leave it. Yep.